it's your love. Your presence is a flood, and I'm caught in wonder. You have taken me over. You have won my heart. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us once again on the Love Factor podcast. My name is Adeyinka, and today we're going to be talking about peace over panic, overcoming anxiety, part 2. So last week we talked about anxiety being the uncontrollable reaction to a perceived or a real threat, whereby you begin to develop mental and physical responses that are uncontrollable, and when it gets to that point, then you would need help with that. And we talked about He has not given us the spirit of fear, but of love, of power, and a sound mind. Talking about sound minds, I did mention last week that we were going to have an expert with us in the studio today, a sound minds expert, because I did not want to do the viewers a disservice by just talking about anxiety, knowing a lot of people struggle with this condition, without really giving you practical steps and tips on how to manage anxiety. Because you could, be saying, I've done everything that I know to do. I spend time with God, I spend time in the Word, I try to focus on the right things, but I just can't control this because maybe you've gone through so much in your life. You've been through so many, heartaches and, ups and downs, and you're just expecting the worst because maybe that's what you've been always, used to and experiencing. And so how do you then get yourself to a point where you're whole and you're healed? And so we have someone special in the studio with us, a special guest. Her name is Dr. Kemi Shodunke. She is a psychiatric mental health provider. She is a practice owner of Sound Mind Psychiatry, and she is phenomenal. She also happens to be my sister. So we're going to be talking to her today. Please help me welcome the delectable, the gorgeous, the knowledgeable, brilliant Dr. Kemi Shodunke.
Well,
Thank you, doctor. Did I mention she was my sister?
Yes.
Do we look alike though?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I'll let you guys be the judge.
Yeah.
Put something down in the comments if you think we
Let
look
us
alike.
know. Yeah.
Or maybe you're doing a double take now and saying, What?
What?
Am I saying double? I didn't know you were a twin.
Yes.
Well, we're not twins.
Yeah.
But everyone thinks, most people think we're twins. Fun story though.
Yes.
My brother just yesterday or 2 days ago literally couldn't tell us apart in a picture.
Yeah.
He was wondering, where is the doctor here? Where is Yinka here? And he said it took him a while to figure out who was who.
Yes.
But I know
happens.
you guys can tell the difference, I'm sure. So once again, thank you for joining us, Dr. Kemi Shodunke.
My pleasure. My absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me. This
You're
has been a
very
long
welcome.
time coming.
You're very welcome.
And I'm super blessed, excited to be here and being in this space with you right now in Sound Mind Psychiatry, right?
Finally, we made it happen.
We made it happen. Yes.
We came to the lab to really make sure we got the treatment that we need.
Exactly.
The mind lab. I like that.
So this is truly an honor. Thank you for being here and making it work. Because we're all so busy, right?
Absolutely.
But this is important. This is so crucial for a lot of us. We're right in the thick of it, right? In the thick of everything. Life is coming at us so fast, right? From every angle.
That's right.
And it's easy to lose yourself. It's easy to get crippled by fear, anxiety, and a host of other things. But this is why we do what we do. So thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for being here with us. So before we dive into the subject of today, the subject of anxiety, we want you to tell us a little bit about yourself. Right?
course.
The viewers want to know about you and what made you go into the profession that you're in, and just a little bit more about you so the viewers know where you're coming from and get to have some insight into who you are.
Absolutely. I'll be more than happy to share. So, my name is Dr. Kemi. As she said, I'm a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. And, my journey started a long time ago. But without giving you the boring details, I'm a mom of two beautiful girls, and they keep me busy. happily married, and, juggling a million balls in the air. But going back to your question, my journey started back home in Lagos, Nigeria. Right, I moved to the United States when I was 16-ish, and boy, that was a ride because I moved alone. I came here by myself in pursuit of higher studies, higher education, and I had to navigate uncharted waters and just figure things out on my own. I really didn't have a map, so to speak, but I figured it out, and my journey has been a long one. In academics, definitely long. Also, on a personal level, I've been through the ringer, right? Experience working as a certified nurse's aide. That was my very first job. I remember very well, in a nursing home in Worcester at the time where I lived, and I worked there for about a year. And I learned so many things in that year of working there. So many lessons were learned. But I think the biggest lesson was that I had to succeed. And that's the biggest overarching point, was that I had to succeed. I experienced racism, I experienced bullying, you name it. I went through the ringer, and it made me strong. At the time, I was crippled with anxiety. I was crippled with fear. I felt like my voice was silenced. I barely spoke about what I was going through. And but it was a fuel, right? So it continued to propel me to go forward and do better. And also, it really helped me put perspective on things in terms of what I wanted to be and what I didn't want to be, if that makes sense. So through my experience, I learned a lot. And every experience so far, I feel as though has shaped me to the woman I've become today. Because without that, I wouldn't be here. One, two, I may not appreciate where I am. So, it's been a journey, but I'm super thankful for it all.
That's wonderful. Thank you for just giving us a peek into your journey. And it's very interesting how our journey really ends up shaping who we are. Our experiences, people say that there are really no coincidences. It almost seems like your experiences are really a pointer. They're pointing you towards where you need to go. Like you mentioned, she's the last born of a family. She was the first person to leave the nest, to leave the home, to leave our family back in Nigeria. And it just shows you how this girl has always been ambitious, actually. She was just a young little girl saying, I'm going off to school in America. And we looked at her like, oh my goodness.
It's the audacity for me.
The audacity.
I had a lot of audacity. Thinking about it now, right?
Yes. And I just used to look at her. She was so young. I used to think I needed to protect my little sister all the time. But she's always had that independent streak too. I knew where she wanted to go, and took that bold step and was able to get to the United States, albeit by herself. She was here with none of her immediate family here with her, and to a point I can imagine how she must have felt and all that she went through. And I'm sure a lot of people can identify with that, because a lot of us had to leave our homes and come here. We must have struggled with anxiety at some point or the other. My family's not here with me. I'm in a white man's land. I'm in a different place. I don't know what the future holds. And so, Dr. Kemi, we have a question for you.
Yes.
Like, just going back and just reflecting on your journey, I'm sure you went through, like you mentioned, moments of anxiety, right? And how were you able to manage and overcome anxiety and not allow it to cripple you to the point where you were not really able to accomplish your goals or move forward and function the way that you needed to function?
That's a great question. Thank you for that. So, definitely was crippled with moments of anxiety, periods in time of anxiety. Moments, will be putting it very mildly, because there were periods of time where you just feel like you were, I felt like I was in a dark place. And it was survival. It was all about survival at that point, right? To your point, coming here with no help, no sister, mother, or father to call, as I was used to doing. And so I went into fight or flight mode. That itself does cause anxiety. So always being in that fight or flight mode will increase your baseline levels of anxiety. And so what really kept me grounded and kept me going was, I didn't want to let my mother down. Because I know how much she worked and how much she sacrificed for me to be here. And so that kept ringing through in my head, like, you're going through this now, but keep your eyes on the prize because you don't want to let your mother down. And that silent voice kept me going, believe it or not. And knowing what I know now, at the time, you couldn't tell me I was anxious. I'd be like, what are you talking about? But knowing what I know now, yes, I was. And I was depressed to a certain degree because it just was what it was. I didn't have my village. I didn't have my community, my people. It was just me. And that went on for some time. And so I had to develop my own healthy coping skills and healthy coping mechanisms to literally pull me out of that and help me manage, right? And at no point in time did my anxiety become crippling where I couldn't make it to school or work because I knew I had to keep going. So I would never get crippled to that extent. I would do what I had to do and then I would shut down. You go to work, you go to school, and then you shut it down. Versus, having a fun life, doing fun things, and, engaging in other things after school, after work, at that age, right? But that was not anything that I was interested in. I just wanted to go to sleep and wake up and repeat the cycle because I just knew I had to keep going. So a lot of it was, just pushing through it. I really had no coping skills. I'd be lying if I sat here and told you that I meditated. No, I didn't do all that because I didn't know to do that, right? I prayed. I was a Christian, right? I prayed and I just hoped for the best. It was really that, just as simple as that.
Right.
And I kept going.
Right. Thank you so much. And it almost seems like that might be the situation that a lot of people find themselves in, like you mentioned. You just feel like you have to keep going.
Yeah.
So a lot of people struggling with anxiety just continue to push through, knowing that there is either a reason for or a why you're doing what you're doing that will get you above the anxiety. And that is very key. And it's actually, you might say it's not really a coping skill or method, but I think it might be to some extent.
It worked.
Because
right?
it worked. Because I remember there's this lady, I don't know if I can mention her name, but she talked about how she was always crippled with fear and anxiety. She was so scared to speak on the stage. And she got to a point where she realized that you have to push through the fear. The fear is not just going to automatically disappear.
Right.
You have to do what you fear doing in spite of the fear.
That's right.
And so she said that she was always scared. Like when she gets on the stage to speak, she'll be shaking and trembling like a leaf. But that she had to push through in spite of the anxiety, the fear of failure.
Right.
She had to do it anyway.
Right.
And guess what? It got easier the second time around. So like you said,
Yes.
that might be a coping skill as well, where you're just waiting for the anxiety to go away and not doing anything is not going to make the anxiety go away.
Absolutely.
It's pushing through the anxiety.
Yeah. So I tell my clients, push through fear, right? You push right through the fear in a healthy way. I remember when I first started speaking, I used to, have some physical symptoms like, normal, you'd be trembling, you'd be sweating.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, are they gonna, but, I had to tell myself, it's really, self-reframing, right? Like reframing my own thoughts and saying, what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen on this stage? Nothing. People are gonna listen anyway. Whether what you have to say makes sense or not, they will listen. No one is gonna stand up and spank you. And so I had to tell myself that just relax. They're gonna listen. And some they won't listen. So don't worry about them. And so that was a driving factor for me as I started to get more comfortable with speaking and just owning my own truth and being at peace with myself and regulating my own nervous system to say, Some will listen, some will not, and that's okay. And what's the worst that could happen? And that really did help me. And now it's not a problem.
Now it's second nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you said, you have to speak to yourself. You have to talk to yourself. That might be another method as well.
Some people find that repetition helps, right? And practicing helps. Role playing. Some people find that role playing helps. So, ultimately, people have to find what works for them, right? The nice thing about going to school here is you are made to take classes and courses on public speaking. And you are made to practice and get yourself comfortable in front of a crowd. So I love that for this generation because they grow up, being confident. At least most of them, they grow up being confident and being able to speak in front of a crowd. I certainly encourage my children to be bold and own it and speak up, despite what they think or how they feel. Just own the room, and that's also part of dealing with anxiety, because that in itself, the fear of speaking will cripple you. It's all tied into, anxiety. Which brings me to my next thing. Everyone has anxiety, right? If you don't have any level of baseline anxiety, then something's wrong with you. You need to check your pulses.
That's right.
We gotta check your pulses.
Are you here with us?
Exactly. When it starts to become a problem is when it becomes crippling, and when it affects your day to day. And I believe I've talked about anxiety before in my videos, about just generalized anxiety disorder, right? It's kind of like an umbrella term for other little terms that come under that. But we all have generalized anxiety disorder. We all have some level of anxiety anyhow. We all have that, but we manage that, right? Everyone figures it out in terms of coping. What do they do to help? Some people take a nap and they're relaxed and that's it. But we all go through that, and everybody has, periods in time where they feel anxious about something. It could be that interview, it could be the job, it could be, whatever. But some of it is natural and some of it is healthy, but as long as it doesn't become crippling.
That's right. That was actually, it's related to the question that I was going to ask. Is I know that when some people have anxiety, you have the physical reaction.
Yes.
But again, my question is, could you be suffering from severe anxiety without physical reactions? And when do you know when you need help for this?
That's a great question. So some people suffer from severe anxiety and shut down totally. And so you may or may not know, depending, right? Especially if they don't seek help. It's going to be case by case, person by person. But I think the overarching point here is, when do you know when to seek help? And when your anxiety becomes crippling to the point where you can't go to work, you can't go to school, you can't function, you can't do your day-to-day without having physical symptoms such as shaking, palpitations, sweating, GI symptoms, GI meaning stomach issues, diarrhea, nausea, vomiting. When that starts to play into what's going on with your body, it means your body just can't seem to regulate itself. And we call that panic, right? That's like full-blown panic. Like you're having a panic attack because you just can't seem to self-regulate. You can't seem to calm yourself down. And it's really affecting you. Some people have severe palpitations to the point where they can't breathe. That is panic. Severe panic. Now, before it gets to that point, people will display symptoms of just shaking, sweating, sweaty palms, not being able to speak or get their words out. Sleep is often disrupted a lot. Can't sleep. Ruminating thoughts. Your mind is going miles per hour. Can't shut it down. Even when there's nothing to do, can't seem to relax. People will display the symptoms before it often leads to a full-blown panic attack. So that's when you need to seek help. When your symptoms start to interfere with your day-to-day, and I seriously urge people not to wait till it gets to that point, right? But when it starts to get to that point, you definitely need to talk to a professional and start to address some of these issues and really get to the root cause.
All right, thank you. I mentioned in my last podcast to you that one of the ways that I see helps with anxiety is to shift your focus and to distract yourself.
Okay.
So, what are some techniques, practical techniques that people can employ that can help them distract themselves where when they get into that full-blown panic mode where their minds can seem to shut off and all the symptoms are going off?
Okay.
How can they distract themselves?
That's a great question. So I always offer non-pharmacological interventions, meaning just natural ways of managing anxiety, right? First thing I always say is deep breathing. Your breathing really does regulate your nervous system and how you're able to control your breathing, how you're able to calm yourself down and regulate your nervous system. So I always say deep breathing exercises is number one, right? In through your nose, out through your mouth, right? And you can do the countdown method as well. You can count down from 5 to 1 or 10 to 1 if you feel like you need a longer period to just sort of calm your nervous system. And then I would say repeat that for as many times as possible, at least 3 times. Some people need to do it 5 times, and that's fine. And they find that as they're repeating that cycle, their body is naturally relaxing and calming itself down. Meditation, right? From a biblical standpoint, meditating on the Word of God, prayer, Christian songs, if you're into that kind of thing, in terms of relaxing. And some people don't like the noise, so maybe just meditating on the Word of God, that helps. Journaling is one thing that I share with my clients all the time. Is journaling. It's so important. And we go through so many things throughout the day that we have so many ideas flying in our head and we fail to write them down. And then we get to the end of the day and that mind is so saturated and we can't shut it off. It's overloaded. And so I always recommend journaling, right? Write it down.
That is
Right.
excellent.
Just do a mood check, right? Okay, how did the day go? What were the things that went well today? What didn't go so well today? And give yourself grace. I think in the process of journaling, it also helps you reflect, right? Because you do need to do some deep introspection. And you're reflecting and you're writing things down, which also helps get things off your chest to a certain degree. So journaling helps. And I know some people are not into writing, but I promise it helps. Helps a lot of my clients. They've come back with a lot of success stories. Journaling has really turned the corner for them.
Absolutely.
Another thing that I always encourage my clients to do is a total lifestyle reset. 3 things that I always say will always be the driving force to your baseline anxiety and depression is these 3 things. 1, your diet, eating the right classes of food and a balanced diet. 2, your activity levels, moving your body. Cannot stress that enough. And 3, your sleep hygiene. How much sleep are you getting? So I'll go back to the first, right? And what was the first? The healthy diet. Okay, make sure you're eating the right classes of food. You're eating your fruits, your vegetables. You have your vitamins embedded in your food, in your fruits. Make sure you're eating your fruits, your plants, your protein. You have to have a nice, well-rounded, balanced diet. That really does help with your gut health, and a healthy gut really does help too in just keeping your overall body and keeping everything moving very nicely. Then 2 is exercise, right? Moving your body, so important. And I always say this, that exercise is the most underutilized antidepressant that there is. People don't understand how important it is. And I'm not talking about, or at this stage of my life, I'm not talking about aesthetics, right? Just working out for aesthetics. I'm talking about working out to clear your mind, to get your mind right, right? Because when you move your body, when you exercise, at least 30 minutes a day, you release those happy hormones, those endorphins. You have the dopamine, and everything's flowing, and you're happier. It's a mood booster. Naturally, you boost your mood just by moving your body. It's that simple. And you don't have to lift weights. Lifting weights is great, especially when you're my age, but that's not the requirement. The requirement is to move your body. So exercise helps with your mental health and your cardiovascular health and your physical health. It's a win-win situation, right? When you move your body. Now, weight loss is a result of that. So you lose weight, you're happier, life is good.
Win-win.
It's a win-win.
All the way.
Totally. But the goal is just to get moving, right? And then the third thing is sleep hygiene. 6 to 8 hours every night. at least 6 to 8, right? I always tell my patients, my clients, when you come to me, we want to be talking 6 to 8 hours of sleep. If you're sleeping less than that, we have issues and we need to deal with them. Why are you not sleeping, right? Is it because you can't shut your mind off? Is it anxiety? Ruminating thoughts. People deal with a lot of ruminating thoughts, things they didn't finish throughout the day that is lingering on, projects they didn't complete, the what ifs, the what's going to happen, the deadlines, and all that. And the inability to shut that off is a big problem. And so I always go over sleep hygiene practices, which is set a bedtime routine and stick with it and keep it going. You know, nothing must interfere with your bedtime routine. If your goal is to be in bed by 10, you better start preparing at 8 and start responding to those text messages, those emails, shut it down by 10, right? So that your mind knows it's time to sleep and your body will respond, okay? Because the body will respond to what the mind tells it to do.
Right.
So those are the practical strategies I have. And of course, there's always more. Those are the big ones.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Kemi. Those are great strategies. You talked about like the deep breathing. You know, you talked about the diet, making sure you have a healthy diet.
Yes.
You know, you talked about exercise. And you talked about sleep.
Yes.
So I have always been fascinated by how sleep really does play a role in your mental and physical health. Can you help the viewers understand the importance? Because for me, I know I struggle with sleeping the number of hours I need to sleep. Sometimes I sleep 5 hours, and you talked about 6 to 8 hours now.
Yes.
And then I think, okay, maybe I sleep 5 hours at a stretch. Maybe I can take a nap for an hour. Later during the day, is there really a difference between having that continuous like 6 to 8 hours of sleep, or if you break it out? And what is the difference? What does it impact? Or what is the resultant effect of not getting enough sleep or not getting them in sufficient enough time continuously?
So that's a very good question, right? And I'm going to try to keep it brief, but it's a loaded question. Sleep is, I can't tell you how important sleep is. Sleep impacts your internal organs and it impacts your brain, okay? So when you don't sleep, your body never fully gets the opportunity to relax, okay? When you sleep, there's improved blood flow to your brain and improved blood flow to your major organs, right? And when you're not sleeping that full length of time, you're disrupting, you know, the natural system of the body and the amount of sleep and the amount of rest and refuel that it's supposed to get. Think about it. Do you ever drive your car for 24 hours straight? No. Even your car gets more sleep than some people do.
French doctor.
So when you don't sleep at a stretch, 6 to 8 hours, your body doesn't get the chance to do that full reset that it needs to keep going. And you know what happens when you don't let your car rest and you keep going? It eventually breaks down. And so translate that to the physical body, right? The brain needs enough oxygen, and it does that when you're sleeping. Your organs need adequate amount of oxygen, and it gets that when your body's at rest. A lot of healing also takes place when you're sleeping, right? People that deal with illnesses and whatnot, and they say, well, take a nice shower and go to sleep, you'll feel better. There's a reason why, right? Because the body heals itself when it sleeps. And when it sleeps at a stretch, 6 to 8 hours at the very least. So rest is so crucial. I say sleep, but it really rest, right? It's resting your body. Your nervous system gets a chance to just shut it down, right? Which improves blood flow to your brain and helps decrease your baseline level of anxiety, baseline depression that everybody's carrying around, and just helps you manage things. You're able to see things clearer in the morning. You're able to concentrate in the morning. You're able to focus, right? When people tell me and come to me and say, oh, I think I have ADHD, I say, oh, whoa. Okay, well, let's talk about, you know, your routine. Are you sleeping? That's one of the first things. Are you sleeping? How's your diet? And how's your, you know, your lifestyle? Are you active?
Wow.
We deal with those 3 things first. And then I do some blood work just to see if they have low iron and whatnot before I even prescribe. So my go-to is always to deal with the non-pharmacological things, the lifestyle things, and sleep is such a huge one.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I have learned so much from this conversation today, just in the area of those practical strategies that you've given us to really help us, because it's so important to know and to have techniques
Yes.
to manage this aspect of our lives where that a lot of us deal with on a day to day.
Yes.
And something that struck me as you were speaking is that there is some chemicals that get released into your bloodstream when certain emotions, or when you're not getting enough sleep, or certain things trigger the release of certain hormones, right? Hormones in your body, which can cause you to just begin to have those anxiety symptoms. So it is important, like Dr. Kemi has said, to make sure that your body has enough chance to reset. Because when some people wonder, why is my anxiety uncontrollable? That's because those hormones are getting released, and you're wondering why they're getting released. And in some cases, maybe you didn't get enough sleep, and so that's the body's natural reaction of just expressing the stress, and then you start to get agitated.
Exactly.
You get to get irritable, and then that might develop into anxiety. So all of these things are so interrelated. We talked about even the diet.
Yes.
Talked about the diet. Like sometimes, you see that you have cramps when you're
Or you're
anxious, and when you have like a good balanced diet, it helps also regulate your hormones, regulate what's going on inside your body. So it's important to know that all of these things are interconnected, and we have to be very intentional about how we're taking care of ourselves, because everything has an impact. Like you might say, oh, it's just food. Would you believe it does have impact on your mental health? It does have impact on your emotions, on your physical health also at the end of the day. So even the Bible says it, that I wish above all things that you prosper as your soul prospers. So that means that your prosperity is tied to how your soul is prospering, how your mind is prospering, how you're doing in that department. So I believe God wants us to have that 360-degree holistic reset, because everything is truly interconnected. And that's why we needed to have Dr. Kemi Shodunke on here today to help us know that, yes, we could take that spiritual angle to see what God wants for us, but there's a step that we must take as well, in terms of how we take care of our bodies, in terms of how we exercise, in terms of what we do intentionally to ensure that we are keeping ourselves in good health, and we're able to move anxiety out the way. Like they say, get out the way. We need anxiety out of the way. Too many people, even statistics wise,
Yes.
I'm sure Dr. Kemi knows a thing or two about that. Like a lot of people are really struggling with this,
Yes.
and a lot of people need help. How can people get in touch with you or get the help that they need? Because a lot of people are struggling with this, and it could be like maybe even in I don't know if you call it the base levels. You could start there, but if it's left untreated or
Yes.
not attended to,
So it just gets worse.
it will
Right?
get worse.
It gets worse. So anxiety left untreated is not good, especially if you're not doing anything about it. From a non-pharmacological standpoint, then it doesn't just go away. It's got to be managed, right? Same thing with any other disorder, right? And so the way I always tell people, everyone, there's this label with mental health and stigma with mental health and anxiety and depression, and everyone's walking around with some level of it, whether they want to face it or not. When it starts to become a problem is when you need to seek help. And I say talk to someone, reach out for support. When you start to feel like, I'm feeling more down than happy. I'd rather be alone than be with people. The things I used to enjoy, I don't care for them anymore. Irritable, I'm moody, I'd rather be in a dark room with the light off, and I'd rather just be by myself. Something may be going on there, and that may be the time to seek professional help. And professional help, again, doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It could just be talking to someone. And when people talk about therapy, they think, oh my God, you're crazy. No, no.
Especially in the African
some of
community.
what we just did is therapeutic.
That's right.
Just talking, just listening. Having someone hear you out, validate you, understand you, and offer one or two tips could really help change the trajectory of things for you. And so in the African household, like you said, mental health is, oh, whoa, whoa, it's a taboo, you're crazy. And that's because culturally, that's what we're accustomed to. That's all we knew in terms of mental health. But it's 2025 now. Things have evolved, and now we know better. We can do better. We're not responsible for staying ignorant, right? We can't be ignorant, especially when we have the information at our fingertips, and we can tap into the help, into our community and get help. So, reach out if you're struggling with anything at all. It's my information. My website, soundmindpsychiatry.com.
That's
Book a
right.
session with me. Let's talk. And I can help you sort of navigate. Offer some tips and tricks and how you can navigate. I don't have all the answers, but I can try. I also have a coaching and mentoring program
right.
that I help young adults and middle-aged women like you and I going through it. We're just figuring things out, navigating, because we're all in the thick of it. And just say, okay, where am I in my life? Where am I in my journey? Am I heading the right direction? In the right direction? What does the next 5 years look for me? The next 1 year? The next 2 years? 10 years? What does that look like for me, professionally, personally? And we can look at that together and help you develop some sort of a roadmap, right? Because believe it or not, some of these issues of life that don't get clarity can lead to anxiety and depression. And so that's why I brought it back to say, all right, let's start with coaching and mentoring.
Right.
Hopefully we get you on the right track and we prevent, mental health issues down the line.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Kemi. And finally, we have to ask, because I'm sure people that know you want to know this, and I'm sure it'll be interesting for people that don't know you as well, is how do you manage to juggle so many balls in the hair, wear all these hats? You have a coaching and mentoring program, you are a doctor, you have your mental health clinic, you're a mom, and if you live in Boston, I'm sure you know Dr. Kemi Shodunke. Like, she is
She's
the
exaggerating.
social prefect or socialite. Like, she's just the art, and somebody said it best, that she is the heart and soul of the Boston community.
Not really.
Bringing people
There are a lot of
together.
people that I don't know actually.
Yeah, but for the most part, you really do help bring a lot of people together.
I try.
With all the stuff that you have going on, what is that one thing? Like, what is the secret? What is the secret sauce? People want to know, because you're able to balance it so well.
Yeah.
You have such a heart for people, for friends, for community,
Yes.
and you give back, and you have thriving businesses. Actually, I forgot to mention, she also has a travel agency, Deluxe Travel Pro.
Yes.
So, and these are all businesses that are run so effectively. These are businesses that are run so excellently. So people want to know, and these are things that will get people into, an anxiety teasy, like,
Yes.
just how am I gonna take care or juggle all of this? So how do you manage to keep all this going?
So, yeah, that's a loaded question, but yeah, thank you. It flattered me a little bit too much.
No.
When you had to go through or endure a lot of what I endured, I think you understand sometimes why I am the way I am. It's, first of all, it's God. God is the one helping me navigate. And I can't say that I'm doing it too well, right? Because if you're thriving in one area, sometimes, you're lacking in another. And I feel like there are areas that I'm lacking because I wouldn't be a human being if I wasn't lacking. And so I'm self-aware that sometimes I do too much and I give too much of myself. And with age now, I'm realizing to rein it back a little bit. Because what has happened in the past is I would give to the point of exhaustion and physical exhaustion and mental exhaustion. And I wouldn't even let the other party really know that this is the effect of what's going on with me. I would take it all in because culturally, that's kind of how I grew up. Like, just take it all in and just make sure everybody else is happy, and then you take care of yourself later. And so over the years, I've learned to try to balance that a little bit better, knowing what I know now. being a mom of two girls that actually need their mom and need my attention and my husband and whatnot. So I've had to figure out a healthy balance there and understand that it's okay if you say no.
Mm.
No one's gonna die.
Mm.
It's okay to not be everywhere and be everything to everyone. And I've learned those lessons over the years. It didn't just happen like that. While still valuing the relationships that I hold dear to my heart, right? But knowing that the people that are for me understand where I'm at and they have grace for me. And so that has really, really helped me. And you know, aside from God, I couldn't do any of this without my husband. He is my rock. He has been where I fail and where I fall short, he picks me up. And he literally just fills in the gap even without me asking. So I think that's a lot has happened there with him being so super supportive, because I honestly would not be able to thrive with everything that I
Your
have going
support
on.
system is extremely important.
Extremely important. And you, of course, right? Without giving you too much, like you're right here in front of me, but you know, having the right circle, the right support system in place has been so instrumental. But I'll give you practical ways, because that sounds very textbooky. Practical ways for me, I love traveling. So of course I turned it into business. But I enjoy just going away, even if it's to the Cape or New York, or it doesn't have to be anything big. I just like to just go. Just go. There's something to be said for leaving your immediate, vicinity.
That's a great tip.
And just unplugging, resetting, and then plugging back in. And that helps me a lot. Even if it's a weekend trip, I'm like, please, I'm out. Because I need some, again, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? I can't keep giving out without refoiling. So I had to make a conscious decision to pour into me as much as I pour into others. Because without me being full, I actually need to be overfull in order to fill somebody else, right? So I've learned to pour a lot into me so that I can actually be the best version of myself to anybody around me. So exercise has helped me. I work out every day. I may not look like it, but I work out every day for my mental health. I work out to clear my head every day. It literally sets the tone for my day, right? Just the fact that I exercise, I get to sweat out a little bit. I have those happy hormones, I'm good to go. So that helps me tremendously. Moving my body helps, exercising helps, praying helps, meditating at night helps, and eating good food helps. Getting together with people that I love and are good for my soul. I always like to have something on the books that I look forward to. It helps. It really does give me something to look forward to. And when I put it on my calendar, dinner with my husband, dinner with the girls, or something, it helps add more meaning
That's
to
another
life.
tip. Guys, if you're taking notes, that's another tip.
If you're taking notes, it's on my calendar, it's happening, all right, let's go. And we keep grinding, right? Because we know we're gonna have some sort of a break at some point. So these little things help me balance a little bit, but yeah, I don't, I wouldn't say I do it all so well. I just try. I do it one day at a time.
And that's all that's needed.
Yeah.
Is just try.
One day at a time.
And you'll get better.
That's it.
You just try. This time, the next time you'll get better. Just try, the next time you'll get better. I really, really, really want to say a very huge thank you to you, Dr. Kemi Shodunke.
Of course.
Thank you for being here with us. I know how busy you are, and we do appreciate your time. We do appreciate your tips. We do appreciate the insights that you've given us. I'm sure a lot of people have learned something from this episode today. I have learned a lot from you. And so I am so thankful and grateful for you. Happy we made this happen.
Yes.
And I hope that we can do more of this. And there's more to come, guys. There are more topics that we're going to need Dr. Kemi to help us walk through some of those areas where we know that people are facing issues and struggling with certain conditions, if I can put it that way. So thank you, Doctor, and we look forward to having you back with us. You guys, let Dr. Kemi know how much you appreciated her in the comment section. If you have questions for her, please, you can send her a DM. We're going to include the handles on the post on our social media platforms. You'll be able to know how to contact her. If you're still unable to contact her, please reach out to us at the Love Factor Podcast. Send us a DM, drop a comment in the comment section. She does have a practice. You can walk in.
Yes.
You can, you book an appointment online. She also offers telehealth. So she is a great therapist. And if you do need a therapist or you do need somebody to talk to, please reach out. She also has this mentoring and coaching program that would help you kind of walk you through and, hold your hand,
Yes.
if you will, to help you guide you through that journey. And every one of us need that. We need that person that has been there, done that, to help us as we navigate our own situations. So that's what we're here for. And I want to thank you, the viewers, for watching. Once again, like I asked last week, if you watched my podcast last week, please don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to share with a friend, don't forget to tag a friend. We really do look forward to hearing back from you, and we will talk to you again next week. Thank you.
Your presence is a flood, and I'm caught in wonder. You have taken me over, you have won.